Hey guys, Dr. Morse, injury experts. So let's talk about Drake London. He has had a ridiculous second half of the season, but he had a couple plays tonight that was potentially concerning. And then eventually he left the game in overtime and was ruled out pretty much immediately. So we need to know what's going on here. So a little bit earlier in the game, he suffered what appears to be, a little bit of a gnarly right knee injury where he was kind of twisted and rolled up on. You can see it in this video. Now, this is usually a meniscus, if anything, but it could have been just, a tweak and he kind of sprained his MCL, could have sprained a couple small little ligaments in there, but not bad enough for him to stop playing. So he ended up continuing to play, and then in overtime, he catches the ball and lands on a slightly flexed knee. But he lands more so on the patellar tendon than on the flexed play here. And in that regard, that would have been a little bit more of a concerning injury. Best case scenario, that would have been a bone bruise of either the tibia or the distal femur, just depending on what banged into what. And that would potentially not be overly concerning. Now, if this was a PCL, which basically means that the knee would have had to landed more in this angle as opposed to this angle, that would be, I wouldn't say the most concerning, the most likely out of the possibilities and the potentially most concerning out of those. That would potentially be at least a week, potentially up to a month, depending on how unstable that ligament is. Now, this is what Brock Bowers had earlier. This is what Ricky Pearsall is just coming back from. Puka Nacua had this. CMC had this last year. Jaden Daniels had this earlier this year. This is a very common injury. Josh Jacobs is probably dealing with this as of today. So if someone lands on a bent knee, it depends on where that energy goes. If it goes through the proximal tibia, it's not as concerning. If it goes through the distal femur and through the PCL, that's usually when their knee feels really unstable. So we'll probably hear more tomorrow. If they rule him out immediately, that's probably going to be more of a PCL. If they say, he's day-to-day, that's probably more of a bone bruise. But we'll give you more when we know more. That's my initial thoughts heading into Week 12 for Drake London.